Now, this is where we have to kind of ad-lib, because if we were outside, we would have had an unveiling and we would have pulled a sheet off the angel and the children would have done it and it would have been really sweet. But we're not doing that because it just wasn't practical. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little blessing for the angel, and after we get all done here, then you guys can go out and see the angel. But if everybody would bow their heads, I'd like to say a blessing for the angel now. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of all children, living and lost. Thank you for all the kind hearts that contributed to making this site. Bless this angel of hope that it might offer comfort, peace, and healing to those who grieve for their lost children. Amen. And now I'd like to introduce my friend Marie. Marie is the executive director here at the Carousel. And if it weren't for Marie, Charlene and I would have been looking a long time for another site, I guess. Thank you for being here, Marie.
I really don't have too much to say, but on behalf of the Carousel Board, we are very honored and blessed to have our own angel in our own backyard. So thank you, and please make sure everyone will go out and visit and tell your friends. And when you have visitors come to visit you, please bring them down to the Carousel and to visit our angel. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. And now I'd like to introduce Mark Bolton. Where is Mark? There he is. He's hiding.
I'm coming.
Mark and his wife Tiffany own the Ike Box downtown, and a lot of you know their parents, Bud and Hope Bolton, and they are here tonight. And they are the parents of Isaac, who is an angel. And Mark has been a supporter of this project from the very first meeting that we had with the Park and Rec Board. He was there and he spoke so eloquently. I couldn't think of anybody that I wanted more than to have Mark just have a little word for you, a little message from an angel's dad.
Thank you, and thanks, Jenny. Jenny, I think you can probably gather this, but I don't think any of us understand how hard she's worked at this. Can we have another round of applause? I know most of you are standing, and we have a lot of activity going on here, so I'll try to make this quick. But we did want to take a moment to just kind of reflect on what we're doing here and the meaning of the angel in our community. The reason I've been asked to speak on the subject is because our first son, Isaac, was born with a heart problem in 1998, and his heart problem required surgery, and surgery didn't go very well. And over the course of 2 months, Isaac made a valiant effort to recover from that surgery, but didn't make it. Died on December 29th of 98. So that puts me with many of you in the company of the bereaved parent. Have you heard of this animal? The bereaved parent? I didn't know what bereaved meant until we lost Isaac, and then I started getting the newsletter, and I had to look up that word at the top of the newsletter, bereaved. A bereaved parent is one who has a hidden story, a story that doesn't come up in conversation very often. A bereaved parent is someone who, seemingly at random, starts crying at the weirdest occasions. A bereaved parent, a bereaved father, has a whole lot more to think about on Mother's Day. A bereaved parent makes very, very complicated what for most of us is a simple question. How many kids do you have? My wife Tiffany and I, sorry, I just looked at her. We need to avoid that and get through this. But my wife Tiffany and I, we've answered that question in a number of very inventive ways, haven't you? We do have 2 boys here with us tonight. Zach is 11, Andrew is, how old are you, Andrew? 8? And so we are lucky, fortunate, and blessed to have a wonderful family. My parents are both here tonight. And so I'm in the club of the bereaved parent. And it's from that perspective that I just offer you a couple of ways to consider the meaning of the angel tonight. And I don't pretend to speak for every bereaved parent. All of our experiences are widely different. But the pain and some of the circumstances that come from it give us some things in common. And I know for me, and it's already been mentioned tonight, but I know for me the fact that there's an angel outside the carousel building here in our riverfront park here tonight, it's very special to me for a couple of reasons. One is that Isaac will again be remembered. It was 14 months? How long between Isaac and Zach? 14 months? Till he was born? So we lost Isaac, and 14 months later, do the math, Zach was born. So when we found out we were pregnant with this one right here, we weren't sure if we were ready to be pregnant again. We weren't sure if we were ready to go through this again. We had had 2 miscarriages before Isaac. And then there was Isaac, and then there was Zach. Now, as with any parent, when we find out you're having a baby, at some point you have to go through some options for names, right? And so we were not really in the mood to do this. I don't know if you can understand this. I know you bereaved parents probably can, but you know, you're just not in the mood to do some of those normal, exciting, nesting type activities that you do when you're expecting. They all bring up too much pain. They all bring up too many memories that are too fresh and too raw. And yet, you've got to do it. You're going to have a kid, and that kid's going to need a name. And so we put off the discussion as long as we could, but on the way to Portland, we were going to Portland to have some more thorough testing done to see if the new baby was going to have any of the same problems that Isaac may have had or had. And so on the way up there, we discussed a few names. We discussed a few boys' names, and we discussed a few girls' names. And it was not an enthusiastic conversation, and yet the name Zachary came up, just because we liked it. I don't remember who mentioned it first, but I've always liked the name Zach, one of us said. And so we kind of chalked that away as one of the options maybe. Well, we continued to Portland, we had the tests. The tests all came back clear, so that was good news. And on the way home, we decided to stop at Borders and look at a book of names. Oh, and we found out we found out during those tests that this was going to be a boy. And so we decided, we skipped the girl section and we went to the boy section in the name book. And we looked up Zachary right away. Neither of us had an idea what it meant. We just knew we kind of liked the sound of it. Does anybody know what Zachary means? It's a fear of every bereaved parent that your child will be forgotten. Jenny already said it. Their life is cut so short that you, as a parent especially, you just think, how can they be remembered properly? There's no way they can be remembered properly. You even think to yourself, maybe I'm going to forget. I'm going to forget that smell. I'm going to forget that warmth. I'm going to forget what it feels like. Am I going to forget what his eyes look like? Oh, and so you collect pictures and you gather things around, and we saved articles of clothing. We still have them locked up in a chest somewhere, and you scramble not to forget. Zachary means God remembers. So that was his name, and that was easy. The angel means God remembers. The angel means Salem remembers. The angel means your child will not be forgotten. The angel means that we're celebrating the life of your child right here in the heart of our town. That means a lot, doesn't it? The second thing that the angel means to me, and I did some reading on this. Jenny actually gave me a couple of links and articles and so forth, and some of the news, some of the stories that have come out of the distribution or the spread of the presence of this angel across in communities across the country and really around the world now, right? Is that the angel was designed originally to have arms kind of up like this, outstretched as if the child were asking to be picked up. Now, do you have kids? Do they ask to be picked up, right? Isn't this universal, right? Pick me up. Up, Daddy. Zach used to say bup. Okay? And so, he still does every once in a while, but it embarrasses him that I say that. So, anyway, so there it is. Well, somehow the sculptor and I don't know if it was just an interpretation or what it was, but somehow the arms are outstretched like this, a little bit lower than you might expect, and many parents have interpreted it as their child reaching out to hold them up in their time of need. Little role reversal. Have you felt that? If you're in the club, you've felt that, haven't you? Christmas Day, 1998. Isaac crashed. He went into distress. We had to call the ambulance. The ambulance came to my parents' house on Christmas Day. Took him away. I rode in the ambulance with Isaac. Oh, they were trying to get oxygen to him. They were trying to hook him up to IVs. They were doing all sorts of crazy medical things that I didn't understand. And as his dad, it was quite important to me that in the middle of all of this craziness, he would know that I was there. Now, at 2 months old, he had not yet learned very many words, so I couldn't talk to him. But over the course of Isaac's life, it sort of became my job to sing to him and read to him. Those were my things. So here we are in the ambulance. It's becoming more and more clear that the end of his life might be near. And in the middle of all of the turmoil, I held his face. And they had to move my hands out of the way to get the oxygen mask on. But I held his face. And I sang to him. Who knows what a child that age understands and doesn't understand, but I know this, he was looking me in the eye. And he never took his eyes off me. And we went to the Salem emergency room, and then we went back to Portland, and he never took his eyes off me. And somehow I knew that I had to hold his face, and I had to hold his eyes with my eyes, because if anything else, it doesn't matter what else happened in this world, he has to know I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. And somehow, even though all we had was eye contact and songs, I had to communicate that I love him. He had to know I love him. Well, I think these outstretched arms are an invitation to life. When you're a parent, you invite your kids to life, right? You teach them to walk, you teach them to ride bikes, you teach them to snorkel. We just had the privilege of snorkeling in Hawaii recently with these boys. You teach them the exciting things of life. You teach them what life's all about. Well, these outstretched arms, this role reversal, I have felt it since Isaac's death. Not knowing quite how it works, not knowing if we were communicating, but knowing that rather than outstretching his arms to his dad saying, "Up, Daddy," he was outstretching his arms to his dad saying, "Up, Daddy."